guys, I'm Sean Hammond with Premier Guitar. We're at Winter NAMM 2020 in Anaheim at the Origin Effects booth. We got Simon Keats, who designs all this cool stuff. Got Greg on guitar. Simon, tell us about the latest pedal. It's the Revival trim.
Yeah, that's right. So it's what it is a 61 Fender Deluxe, a brown face amp in a pedal format. So just like the amp, it's got the great bias tremolo, and you can also get a brilliant drive amp sounds out of it. It just replicates everything about the amplifier.
You want to run us through all the controls? Because there's quite a bit going on there, huh?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So you got a drive control here, which is like the volume on the vintage amplifier. Then you got a tone control, and those two controls are quite interactive with each other.
Is it a passive tone control?
Yeah, so it's a tone control attached to the volume, the drive control. So as you turn up the drive control, the whole sound gets a bit darker, like a bit reminiscent of a Tweed amplifier. And then you got the output level, which is just changes the level of the sound. Then you got intensity and speed, like you would get on the Fender amplifier. We then have
little toggles there, right? You got a shape toggle?
Yeah, we've got a shape toggle. So the top one's the standard kind of sine wave that you would get in the amplifier. And then we have like an asymmetric sine wave that's where the signal is on for longer, and then the gaps in the tremolo are shorter. And that sounds really nice when you have a slow LFO speed. Yeah, we've got
the multi. What does that mean?
Okay, so there's a tap.
Just change the drive level, or
no. So you got a tap tempo function, and it just multiplies the tempo that you're tapping the switch at. You know, so you can get different. You can have triplets, quavers, that kind of thing.
Like a subdivision control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then
what are the little two knobs at the bottom?
So the two knobs. These
a switch. Huh?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, one toggle switch, one little trimmer, and the idea is that you'll see the same thing on our Revival drive products. It allows you to tailor the drive and the sound of the pedal to any amplifier.
So that when you turn it on, it might, with certain amps, it might feel like it's getting lost a little bit, or taking your volume down. So you can. Is that what it?
It's the kind of thing like if you were to plug anything that has a drive aspect to the sound. If you were to plug it into a bright amp, then it tends to sort of exaggerate the higher fizzy harmonics, and it can make a drive sound quite nasty. So the idea of this switch is that if you have a bright amp, you set it to one position that will kind of compensate for the brightness of the amplifier, so that the harmonic spectrum is pleasing to the ear. And then if you've got a dark amplifier, then you choose another switch selection.
Okay, that's the toggle. And then the trim switch?
Once you've selected the appropriate toggle position, then you just trim this until you find the best sound. You just kind of...
That knob is connected to the toggle?
Absolutely, okay. Yeah, that's it. And it just means that if you were to go to a studio, or you were going to fly into a particular gig, and you didn't quite know what backline you were going to get, you could get a consistent sound out of the pedal through any rig. You could plug it into a flat power amp, that would work. You could plug it into a speaker IR. You could plug it into a blackface Fender. You could plug it into a Marshall, and you would get the exact same sound.
Okay, and then there's 2 foot switches. Is one on the right for a drive?
The one on the right just puts the pedal in bypass.
Okay.
And the one on the left turns the tremolo on and off. So if we turn the trem off, then essentially it is a kind of tweedy, brown face sounding drive pedal. Yeah. And then when we kick the trem in, the drive stays, but you just get the tremolo on top of that.
Okay. Why don't you have Greg play us a few different examples of your favorite tones?
Yeah, okay. Let's start off with a cleaner sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I always wonder when I hear a new tremolo, whether it's in an amp or a pedal, is how slow can it go? Because a lot of times I feel like some amps can't go very slow. I'm always like, I wanted to go slower, be more like enveloping, you know what I mean? How slow does this go?
It goes slow. It's got the tap tempo function, so you could kind of like you could tap it once when you got up on a Tuesday and tap it again on a Wednesday, and it would pulse once a day.
That's a long gig.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to show us some other sounds?
Yeah, let's have a slower one with a more lumpy waveform. So that's that. And then let's hear, I mean, these pickups are pretty hot, I would say. So we'll get a bit more drive. I'd say we're going to hear more drive than you would get out of like a PAF or a single coil. But we'll see how it sounds with this guitar.
Okay.
Cool. And then if we enable the tremolo, what we'll find is when Greg plays particularly hard, that his playing will get past the tremolo, so you're not fighting with the modulation there, and as the notes tail off.
Is it actually sensitive to the input waveform? So
Yeah, that's right.
I love that.
So there's like a real, you can then manipulate your playing dynamics to get whatever you want out of it.
There are not very many pedals that do that, and I love that.
Yeah, I don't know how many, whether there are any tremolo pedals that do it, but obviously people know that from a good drive pedal that it gives them that interaction. But the tremolo works in the same way.
Now, does it only do that if the drive is engaged, or?
If you have it on that kind of slightly the edge of breakup, it'll start doing it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's hear it.
So you're going to hear like it doesn't fight the guitar. It's kind of working with your dynamics.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to tell us about this before we go to the new Revival drive?
I think that's about it really.
Okay. How much does it go for?
So it goes for $430 US dollars. Yeah.
All right. So you have a new limited edition Revival Drive Hot Rod edition, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So
what's the difference between this and because the Revival Drive, this version came out how long ago, the original?
So the original came out about, gosh, it must be about 2 years. And the original was based around several amps that I'd collected, which were from the late 60s. So non-master volume amplifiers that you just crank up and get like a great sound out of them.
How does this one differ? Is it mainly just more gain on tap?
Yeah, that's it. So people would have these amplifiers, or they might buy one second hand by the time we got to like the mid 70s, and they would have their amp tech take a 2-channel amp and turn it into a 1-channel amp, and with the spare valve, they would cascade it into the 1 channel to get more gain.
Yeah.
And that is in essence, that was the next chapter in amp design at the time, whether it was Marshall with their JCM 800 or sort of Fender and Boogie. So we've really wanted the pedal to represent that evolution.
All right, do you want to demonstrate that? Have Greg play something?
Okay. So that's the kind of the British side of it. So that's we based it on like a mid 70s early master volume Marshall, like probably one of the first ones they made, and that later became the JCM 800. So that's that sound.
Cool. How much is that going for?
That is going for, I'll look at my piece of paper, sorry. Should know
It's
this
too
stuff
new,
really,
right?
shouldn't I? Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have two versions. We have one that has all this stuff on the front, these extra controls for really dialing in the perfect sound through any amp, and that one is 680, and then the simpler model is 560.
Okay.
So that,
But it's the same size. It's not like a compact.
from the top, it looks
Right,
exactly
okay,
the same. It's literally just this extra panel of controls on the front
Okay.
there.
Do you want to tell everyone where to go online to find out more about your stuff, social media and all that?
Yeah, sure. Go to www.origineffects.com. You get more information, lots of videos.
Sweet. And why don't we have Greg play us out after you guys subscribe to our channel so you can get more cool NAMM videos from Premier Guitar.